And welcome in to the Josh Ennis Show. It is Josh. It is Jilly. How are you, Jilly?
I am good.
I'm glad you're good. I'm glad everything's going well for you.
I'm kind of hungry.
Well,
your gout's kind of thrown off our routine a little bit here.
Yeah.
So it's funny, we make fun of Luther. Like, Luther needs a routine. Dogs need routines, man.
Yeah.
We need routines.
We need routine. Hold on. I'm going to turn your mic up.
Oh, this again.
Talk.
Hi?
There you are. All right, I got you. Everything's good now.
Jeez
Sorry.
Louise.
I know. I tinker with things too much. But anyway, we're glad you're with us today. And you're right. Today we were thrown off a little bit, but we got a big show for you today. We got a super-sized show for you today on the Josh Ennis Show. Matt Moscona is going to join us in 20 minutes.
Can you ask him to send you the damn drop?
The Coach O drop?
That's all I want.
I know you do. I know you do. And maybe it's time to get the Coach O drop finally.
I think it is. The SEC schedule is out. We need it.
We do.
Who won it?
That's right. Thank you for saying that. So Matt will join us because there's things happening in college football. But I saw Matt posting today about having fans at college football games. And we've talked about it before. I'm just not that interested in attending a football game in which there's only 18,000 people in a 100,000-seat stadium. That doesn't sound fun to me. It doesn't sound interesting to me.
All the new rules are what bother me more. Like, I'm fine with there not being a ton of people, but having probably to, get in line to go to the bathroom via text or ordering a beer and waiting to go pick it up. Like, all the social distancing, new normal, I have no interest in.
I have zero interest in
Or
any
I think
of
I
that.
saw one, I forget where it was, somewhere's talking about, like, you'll have to reserve the time you're going to get into the stadium so that you don't have one mass group of people entering at the same time.
Not interested in that either.
No.
Not interested in any of that. I'd
I
rather
will go
sit my
in
ass at
when
home.
I finish my beer at my tailgate.
I would much rather just sit my ass at home and enjoy my life that way. And by the way, the Flyers do play here in a couple hours.
Hopefully better than the last time they played at 2 in the afternoon.
Hopefully. That was pretty dreadful.
It can't be much worse.
That was pretty dreadful. Now, before we get into anything else, though, I do have to tell you about Dr. Busby at ToeGrips.com. That's right, ToeGrips.com with Dr. Busby. She is the best. And Luther, I'm telling you, the guy is a new dog after taking Dr. Busby's Encore Mobility.
You said he prances.
This is a true story. I've never seen him do this before. I'm baffled by this. But I've never seen Luther prance. But he prances. So here's what happens. So we'll be walking through the dog park, and there will be, other dogs. Like Luther will walk by a group of other dogs or something like that. And instead of just walking by them, he will go into full-on strut mode. He starts to prance. I don't know what that means for dogs or what, but he prances.
Well, you can ask Dr. Busby.
He just prances and just like, he looks like a Clydesdale. He looks like a Budweiser Clydesdale when he prances. But ToeGrips.com, I urge you to go to ToeGrips.com if your dogs are having a hard time getting around. And that was Luther, kind of lethargic, kind of just dragging ass. Well, he started taking the Encore Mobility, and he is completely different.
Yes.
It promotes hip and joint flexibility, restores mobility and comfort, renews vigor and vitality. I tell you, it's a different world for Luther. It is a different game for Luther now, thanks to the Encore Mobility. And it's a green-lipped muscle and New Zealand deer velvet supplement. Dr. Busby is all about it. She's awesome. She loves dogs. She's a veterinarian. She's not like one of these fake doctors that just puts doctor, like got an honorary degree from somewhere and says, hey, I'm a doctor. No, that is not the case at all. It is Dr. Busby. She's a great veterinarian. Of course, they have the toe grips at the website as well. It is ToeGrips.com, ToeGrips.com. And if you use the promo code Luther, that's Luther, Luther, you'll get 10% off site-wide. And of course, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee if it doesn't work. So, but I think it will. That or the toe grips or the nail trimming kit. It's all awesome. ToeGrips.com. It is ToeGrips.com. Promo code Luther saves you 10%. ToeGrips.com. Dr. Busby is awesome. We love her. And they are great, loyal supporters of Just Nation. Now, We have a lot to get into today, and Matt Moscona is going to join us here in about 15 minutes or so. We'll talk with him about life and college football and the Rona.
Back to the games in person, the football games in person.
Yeah.
We never actually talked about it, but did you see the plan for the Cowboys? Where
didn't.
you can have tailgating, but it has to be a car length apart and a maximum of 4 people, and then in the stadium you're going to sit in pods.
I think I'd still be okay with tailgating. It's the sitting in pods that I have no interest in.
So bizarre. And a lot of teams have said they're not going to have any fans, but the Chiefs are. They're going to open the season against the Texans with 15,000 people there in Arrowhead.
But again, who wants to go to a football game with 15,000 people? That doesn't sound like fun unless you're in a stadium that seats 15,000 people. The reason you go to these sporting events is for the atmosphere. The reason you go to a football game is because it gives you an experience you can't get at home. If there's 15,000 people and they're all spread out and there's no noise, how many people can that stadium fit? No, actually, that stadium seats 80,000.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I think it could seat even more than that. So if you're only putting 15,000 people in there, and I understand the reason, it's because you got to make a buck. And I mean, listen, you're not going to make up all the money you're going to lose, but you're still going to, you'll make some of that money. And I'm sure they'll find a way to, how would I say this? They'll find a way to, raise the costs of certain tickets to try to offset all the money they're going to lose, and I understand that, but that doesn't interest me. I'm not interested at all in going to a stadium and sitting there with 15,000 people in an 80,000 seat stadium, or if it's LSU, and Matt knows more than I do about what's going on at LSU and the SEC schools, but most SEC major stadiums seat well over 100,000, 105, 110, whatever. They seat a bunch of people. If there's only 20,000 people in a 100,000 seat stadium, that's 80% empty. That's LSU versus Northwestern State fourth quarter crowd. It's not that much fun. Now, tailgating wise, I'd still go out and tailgate. I think that'll be fun. But going to a game, it doesn't lead to any interest for me. I'm not interested in that.
I mean, I like my space as much as the next person, and sometimes it does get a little cramped, especially in Tiger Stadium. You're kind of standing like this. But yeah, I guess what's the point? And like I said, the other rules that they're probably going to have to implement, I would not have any interest in.
Wouldn't you rather just stay at home and have cheaper beer?
Oh, yeah.
Have cheaper food, no bathroom lines? Because again, the atmosphere is the only advantage to going to a football game in person is the atmosphere.
And that's
the only thing you've got going for you is atmosphere.
We just do your favorite thing. We fire up the Bluetooth speaker and just play the same things they do at the game.
Exactly.
Boom, just like you're there.
Or go to a bar, because I don't know what kind of bar setup people are going to have.
Okay, first of all, there are no bars.
I understand that.
What world do you live in?
Okay, but there could be. At some point, there could be bars. But I go to, what do you say? You and I might go to 2 to 3 LSU games a year and maybe a Saints game or 2 every year.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year. But the last couple of years, we've done that. The reason you do it is not because the view is better, and you don't do it because it's more comfortable, and you don't do it because it's cheaper. You do it because you want to say you were there and be part of the atmosphere and high-five random people. And if you're in the Dome, deal with really narrow corridors and deal with bad bathroom lines.
And Boudreaux.
And Boudreaux feeling you up in your seat. I mean, that's what you're doing it for. At LSU, you're doing it because you want to get some of that same jambalaya that you can make a giant pot of for $5, but you'd rather spend $10 on a little bit of that Zatarain's That's Right jambalaya.
It just tastes better.
That's why you want to do it. That's why you go. Nobody goes to football games just to say, hey, I went to a football game. You do it because the atmosphere kicks ass, and one day if something great, significant happens, you can sit back and say, hey, I was at that game, by the way. Hey, I was at LSU, Florida. Hey, I was at Texas A&M. You want to say that you were there. That's the only incentive for doing that. So I have no interest whatsoever in going to a football game. I saw Clay ask that, and I've asked that question 100 times so far, and I might ask it again today on 97.5. But would people go to a sporting event, go to a football game if there's only 15,000 people?
No question, they will.
And some will. And I get, and Matt was saying that today too, that there's always going to be a group of loons that are going to do it.
Yeah.
And that'll help. And if it's at LSU, it'll help them make a couple bucks to offset. Now, generally speaking, a school like LSU can make $5 million a game or so off a home game. Now they might only make $1 million off of a home game. So you're still losing a ton, but you're not losing everything, I guess is how they would look at it. Then again, I don't know how many people LSU might put in. They're crazy. They might put in 50,000.
I think it also get approved by the mayor and the governor and everything, though, because that's what happened in Kansas City is the mayor gave them the okay to have 15,000. I forget the percentage. But the mayor of Kansas City gave them the okay, and the health organization in Kansas City gave them the okay. So I think each state has to get permission before they can do that.
But they can also, league-wise, the leagues can make the decisions on their own, and the individual schools in the leagues can make. So like the SEC and the Big 12, there's not a league rule, at least at this point in these leagues, that say, okay, 15%.
Right.
If LSU wants to try to put 50% in, LSU can put 50% in. Florida could put 70% in if they
But again,
wanted.
it's all based on the state too. They have to get permission, I think, from the government.
Yes, but I don't see a scenario where the government, especially if you're in a place like a Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or the state of Louisiana that is hardcore rabid football,
Right.
I don't think it'd be a wise move politically for you to be the governor or mayor or whoever may make the decision, like in Baton Rouge, the mayor president, whatever the hell a mayor president is.
Yeah, that's the weird.
But then again, they also have parishes instead of counties in Louisiana, so there's a bunch of weird shit about it. But you don't want to be the politician that said people can't go to LSU football games because you will lose. You are going to lose, no question. So I don't see a scenario where that's going to happen. So we'll talk with Matt about that here in a few minutes. Unwritten baseball rules. So Fernando Tatis Jr., by the way, don't know if you knew this, son of Fernando Tatis.
No way.
He hitting 2 grand slams in 1 inning off the same pitcher, by the way. That was in 1999, I think, is when he did that for the Cardinals. And I believe it was off of one of the Asian pitchers from the Dodgers. It wasn't Chan-Ho Park. Who was the other Asian pitcher from the Dodgers in that era? I want to say he hit both of these home runs. I think it was off the Dodgers. I think he hit 2, or was it against the Diamondbacks? How am I starting to forget this now? But I believe Tatis, the elder Tatis, hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning, and I believe it was off of Chan-Ho Park, but I'm probably wrong. And no, Hideo, it might have been off of Nomo. Now I sound completely racist. It was off of one of them Asians.
Yep.
I don't know which one it was, but it was off of one of them Asians. I think it was Nomo, though. Hideo Nomo, not Chan-Ho Park. It was off of Hideo Nomo.
Was Tatis Sr. also labeled an a-hole?
No, because the world was a different place back then, and there was no Twitter, social media to label a guy who had a 3-0 count and just decided, hey, I'm going to keep playing baseball today.
Now, to be fair, this one's not on Twitter. Twitter thinks that baseball is stupid. This is on his manager and the Rangers manager being like, no, man, I wouldn't do it. My guys know they shouldn't do this.
Okay.
Like, okay.
Here's the thing about baseball. There are some unwritten rules that are okay. Okay. For instance, in baseball, if a guy shows you up after hitting a home run, like a guy points at you and taunts you, maybe brush him back in the next at bat to humble him a little bit. I'm okay with that. That's kind of part of it. I mean, I would also argue don't give up the home run. But if a guy shows you up and you want to pitch him inside, because that's the pitcher's right to pitch inside. You have to pitch inside or you're useless as a pitcher because they'll stand over the plate like Barry Bonds used to with a giant piece of armor on and hang right over home plate and give you nowhere to throw. So as a pitcher, you do have to establish the inside. If you get shown up and a guy taunts you, guess what? You have the baseball. He doesn't. So when he comes up again, it put the fear of God in him by brushing him back a little bit. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
But the unwritten rule that basically if you're up by enough runs, you should just stop playing the game. And by the way, that's not just baseball. That's in every sport. When a team scores a touchdown when they're up 63-0, even if they've put in all their backups, it's considered running up the score. Jimmy Johnson dealt with that in a game. I forgot who they were playing at Miami, but it was a big deal where he ran up the score and they embarrassed him. You see it, and then coaches get all worked up when their team gets shown up. Listen, dude, you can't just tell people to stop playing the game. If you want to just stop the game, then stop the game and say we forfeit and it's over. But as long as there's still time left in a game, as long as there are innings left in a game, if a dude's going to try to hit a home run, like, should he just go up there and strike out on purpose because they're down by 7?
That's
Should he
literally-
take a walk because they're down by 7?
That's what
No.
they wanted him to do. Like, his own manager was like, yeah, I wish he would have taken the strike. And then, Tatis goes up there at the podium afterwards. Obviously, he got a talking to because he's like, yeah, maybe I should have handled it differently. You got to learn from these situations. Okay, why are you apologizing
Stop. People
for hitting a
apologize for too
grand
much.
slam?
People apologize for too damn much.
I would be livid at my manager if he was like literally upset about me hitting a home
At
run.
some point, but that same thing kind of happened to Bregman, right? Bregman got a talking to from old AJ Hinch. I forgot what the play was, but remember he like talked to him and then after the game he apologized for it. I forgot exactly what he did.
Was he carried his bat to first?
That was what it was. He hit a home run and carried his bat to first. Like, okay, dude, this is why baseball stinks,
I
right?
know. You got these guys who are fun and like energetic and launching balls out of the park, and they get in trouble for it.
Basically, you want to take, and where the Tatis is from? Are they Dominican?
Not sure.
Where are the
I can
Tatis
tell you
from?
that in a second.
Which island are they from? Are they from the Dominican? Are they going? Is he from Cuba? Is he from Puerto Rico? Where are the Tatises from? I guess I should know this. But
Dominican.
they're from the Dominican. Okay. One of the great things about players from that area is that they're lively and they've got energy and they provide fun. Now, when they don't play for your team, you hate them, but that's good because because you either want to love someone or hate someone. Apathy is the worst possible thing you can have in any sport. Apathy is terrible, right? Like, say I'm a fan of the Cardinals. I really, really, really hated what's his name from the Dodgers, and now the dude that had the flash in the pan, Puig from the Dodgers. Hated him, right? If Puig played for my team, I think he was the most badass guy ever. I mean, that's just how these things work. You either love them or you hate them based on the team you play for.
Our boy Juan Soto is a good example of that for the Astros fans. Like, Astros
hate
fans,
Juan Soto.
You hate him. Everyone hates him. But if he's on your team, you're probably buying his jersey.
You're into all of his little shenanigans at home plate and all that. That's how it works, right? But what the thing is, you bring these guys over and then you want to tell them, basically, here's what you want to do. You want a little real talk here? Okay. You want to basically whitewash these guys is what you want to do because white people think they play baseball the right way, brother. And that's how baseball should be played. And you don't show up the pitcher and you don't do this. And when you're up by 7 runs, you don't swing away on a 3-0 pitch. That is called whitewashing.
I don't think there's unwritten rules in Dominican baseball.
Probably not. Because you know the written rules, you hit me, I'm going to shove a bat up your ass. That's what happens. They're wild over there.
That's how it
Yes.
should be.
Let them have fun with it, man. That's my problem with baseball is you bring these dudes over, and then what ends up happening is you whitewash these dudes, and because evidently the white way is the right way to play baseball, let guys have some arrogance. And you know how you stop the arrogance, right? You get them out.
You don't suck.
You don't suck.
Easy solution.
There's an idea for you. Don't suck. You don't have to worry about a guy blasting a 3-0 home run off of you down 7 if you're not down by 7.
Right.
If you're not down by 7, how can someone hit a home run off of you on a 3-0 pitch when you're down 7 or up 7 if you're not the team that is down 7?
Or don't load the bases up again. I mean, there's so many things here. Just don't suck.
Good point here on the chat. It says, Fernando Tatis Jr. apologized. He should have dropped this.
Bitch, don't sass me.
God, that would have been fantastic.
If he would have said that, if Fernando Tatis Jr. would have rolled out, and they said, did you want to apologize?
Bitch, don't sass me.
That's exactly what Fernando Tatis Jr. should have done. I'm tired of people apologizing. Stop apologizing for everything. Stop.
And now when
Make it stop, please.
And now when Tatis goes on a slump here, we're all going to wonder why. Because it probably messes with his head.
God, I just stop apologizing. This country apologizes too damn much for everything. Just, you know what? It's sports, right? Like, oh my God, it's one thing if you run up the score against some 6-year-old.
Like against that team that ran up the score against the blind basketball team. That's a little much.
That's a little much. Or unless you're like that autistic kid that drilled 7 threes in that one game. He was running up the score, and that was inappropriate. Okay, I'm talking about that. Remember that story about the autistic kid? That kid, once he hit 1 3, it should have been over. But instead, the kid goes out and just drills 3.
How dare he?
How dare the autistic kid get in a blowout and keep shooting? But you know what? I don't remember this exactly, but I think when they talked to him after the game, he said this.
Bitch, don't sass me.
That's what I think he said. I'm not positive, but I
paraphrasing.
think that's what he said.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing here. But stop apologizing for everything. When I went 3 for 3 from downtown, I didn't apologize. And I listen, whenever I made a shot, I would get hyped because I didn't make too many shots. So I would get hyped. I'd point at people. I would get all into it. They wanted to fight me, man. People wanted to fight my ass a lot of the time because I was an a-hole. People wanted to fight me,
What was the score when you hit your 3 for 3 from downtown? Were you guys up big? Is that why you were in the game?
No, that was just in the game was still a game at the time.
Oh, okay. So that's okay.
Now, I did get my ass shook one time. Dude crossed me over. We were losing by a ton in the visiting team's gym, and I was just angry. And I was trying to foul someone really hard, but instead the dude just crossed me over, and I fell down, and it was really not a pleasant time for me.
Did you have your goggles on, too?
I did. I'll tell you what the guy told me as he went by me.
Well, I've got some red meat for you.
That's exactly what he told me as he went by me and shamed me and embarrassed me and made a fool of me.
Aww.
That's what he did. We see one. Speaking of apologies, what was your apology like to Miss Anelli again? That's a different type of apology. And first of all, that was a guy trying to get back to a job where I could go and dominate again. That's different. Fernando Tatis doesn't have to apologize for hitting a home run. It's baseball. I sent a letter, wouldn't that be something?
Snail mail.
Dear Miss Anelli, I sent an email because I was told that the only way I could get on that radio station is if it was approved by Mike. So I sent him some bullshit in an email to see if that would work. It didn't work. But I did that for you guys, trying to get my ass back to Philadelphia to provide you guys with some good entertainment.
And one day when we're drunk, you'll read that email.
One of these days I will.
It's going to happen.
The day will come. Now, we're going to call our friend Matt Moscona here in a few minutes. But first, I need to tell you about a few people that make this thing go. Who should I tell them about first there, Jilly?
Colonial Concepts and Design.
Colonial Concepts and Designs. I was talking with Mike Cohen yesterday. He says they're hardcore busy over there at Colonial Concepts and Designs, which, given the current status of the world, I think that's a good thing because a lot of people aren't busy right now. Since they are, that is a good thing over at Colonial Concepts and Designs, and they will only have you hiring good people. That is right, good people to do work on your home, floor and wall, kitchen and bath, cabinets and countertops, drywall repairs. They are awesome at what they do. They are the best in the game, and they are in the Delaware Valley area, locally owned and operated. Wonderful people. I talked with Mike yesterday, said, oh, by the way, don't worry, I'm back for another month, so don't worry, I'm here. He's been here since the beginning. We love Mike from Colonial Concepts and Designs. If you're in the Philadelphia area and you need work done on your home, you might want to beautify it, Colonial Concepts and Designs. It's outstanding. They do outstanding work, and we love them. We love what they do. So if you need work done, 609-849-7558, 609-849-7558, and check out their YouTube channel. Their YouTube channel has all the videos of the work they do. They do a great job, and they do it with great people. Colonial Concepts and Designs. Mention the Josh Ennis Show. 15% off your total labor cost. It's 609-849-7558. Don't hire scummy people to work on your home. Hire the folks at Colonial Concepts and Design. Got another one?
We do MacKnight Safety Solutions.
Speaking of MacKnight Safety Solutions, Travis was messaging, or I should say he was just on Facebook. He was messing around on the Facebook last night. And on that very Facebook, he was saying that they actually have an opening, a kind of a part-time opening that could become a full-time opening for someone to help in the office. So if you know somebody in your house that can do some office work, kind of like some CPA type stuff that doesn't have anything going right now, they actually have an availability, I think, over at MacKnight Safety Solutions. Their number is 832-363-1295. Their actual business, though, is a safety staffing and consulting company located in Rosenberg, which is here in the Houston area. When companies have a temporary need for safety oversight on projects, they use the folks at MacKnight Safety Solutions versus using their own people. They work in industrial and commercial construction, oil field and manufacturing facilities, and also conduct facility audits for regulatory compliance and assist their clients with developing and maintaining comprehensive safety programs. Is that easy enough for you to understand? They just make sure that the work site is safe, and not only are the people on the work site safe, but you're protected from, maybe having someone get hurt on your work site, and then it impacts you. So give them a call, 832-363-1295, and also shoot them an email, shoot them a call if you're in the Houston area and can help them out with some office work. 832-363-1295 or MacKnightSafety.com. There you go. Let's get Matt Moscona on the phone. Let's see what old Matthew George Moscona is up to.
You asked him about that Coach O drop now.
I will.
It's been weeks.
I will make sure that we find out from Matt about the Coach O drop.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Let's give Matt a call. There we go. Burner phone on.
I like that you can hear it actually dialing. That's old school.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Matt Moscona. How are you, buddy?
Oh, man. Just your timing is impeccable. I just got off a Zoom conference with Ed Ogeron.
You were on a Zoom conference.
National championship winning coach of the Fighting Tigers of LA.
We were messing with a Zoom.
I'm excited about that. What did Coach O have to say?
Reiterated what he said all along. He believes they're going to play. He's not thinking anything different. Essentially paraphrasing, if you want to do something bad enough, you find a way to make it work. And that's kind of been the SEC's approach. There's some personnel stuff. There's a freshman running back that they really like, one of their defensive ends. is no longer with the team. Did not clarify if it was a COVID opt-out or not, but it's Justin Thomas, who actually left the team last year as well, but then was reinstated and now is gone again. So a little on again, off again, but mostly, honestly, Josh, it was really good just to
talk football.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of COVID questions, but it's been nice with the SEC schedule release and, the NFL teams having full padded practices. It feels kind of like fall camp. I mean, it's really refreshing to see after 5 months of nothingness.
So you and I was tweeting back and forth with you today about this, but because I don't know, you're around it more than I am, but I'm seeing some places are going to have 18% or 20%, and I guess it's up to the schools to determine how, the capacity that they're going to have at the games. But would you, as a fan, and I'm not talking about rabid, wacky, getting billy clubbed or tased on the field, Matt Moscona. I'm talking about, drinking $500 whiskey, Matt Moscona. Would you sit in a stadium that, say, LSU is 105 now, whatever it is, 107, I don't know what it is, but it's over 100 now. What's the number they're talking about percentage-wise? Are they talking 20, 25? What are they looking at?
So Tiger Stadium is right at about 102,000. And to clarify, it's not the university that gets to make that decision.
The league?
It's going to be it's going to be the local, the state, and the municipalities. So,
well, you and I both know anybody that has any aspirations of political success in that area isn't going to say, we're only going to let 10% in the stadium. That ain't going to happen.
Well, I think depending on specific states and their COVID response and where they are is what it's going to be. I'll tell you, like here in Baton Rouge, LSU has been in contact with the governor and the mayor's office routinely to make these determinations. So, for example, look at what just happened with the Saints. I mean, the Saints announced they will not have fans at their season opener against Tampa. Now, that's 2 weeks prior to LSU's home opener. But my understanding is that Louisiana is going to have to be into phase 3 to allow fans. So we're going to be in phase 2 through August the 28th, I believe. So another 10 days or so. And if at that point we move into phase 3, then they can look at opening up fans, the stadium for fans. What's likely, Josh, initially is a socially distanced stadium. So fans outside of their families, at least 6 feet apart. That would be in the 18 to 20,000 fans range in Tiger Stadium. So I think that's where you're hearing that.
So that would be, say, Northwestern State. It's 53-3 with 7 minutes to go in the game. And you're only staying around because you don't want to get stuck in traffic. You think that's the best way to beat traffic. So there ain't no way Matt Moscona of $500 whiskey is sitting in a stadium with 20,000 people. That ain't happening.
Because if it were LSU student Matt Moscona, he's not only staying in the stadium until the final second ticks off the clock, but he's staying in the stadium to sing the alma mater with the band before leaving the stadium.
But current Matt Moscona ain't now. I don't even know that you'd go to that game as a media person.
The current Matt Moscona is sitting at his house, sipping expensive whiskey, watching the game on a giant flat screen.
So let me ask you this though. So and we know that they're not going to be able to make up the money they're going to lose from not selling all the tickets, which is usually what, like 6 million a game, I would think, based on ticket revenue.
It's actually north of that now.
Really?
I can tell you candidly that I had a conversation with an LSU administrator for the Alabama and Texas games this year. They were expecting to net $10 or $11 million for those 2 games each.
So they were going to profit. They were going to be up $11 million in those games.
Net, yes.
Okay.
Net.
So when I'm looking at that, then let's say they're able to put in 20,000 for that. So basically you take away 80% of, say, let's call it 10 million. So that would mean you're making 2 million, or it's going to, but at that point, I don't even think it becomes profit, or it's not much profit. I mean, if you're talking about 2 million, you're losing 80% of what you thought you were going to make. Now, are we assuming that 80%, so let's say they generate 2 million from Alabama this year, that's still 2 million profit, not 2 million total. That's net, not gross, if they make 2 million on that.
So I don't want to confuse people totally with numbers, but you have to understand that if you decrease capacity, you're also decreasing expenses.
Yeah, because your workforce is lower.
Security.
Yeah.
You don't have to have as much concession stand stock. You're not going to have as much cleanup, custodians. et cetera, et cetera, security. So your expenses go down, as does your revenue. But I would say the ideal situation, Josh, is that as we move through the fall, if we continue to move through the COVID phases, then you could continue to see capacity increase. So maybe from a socially distanced crowd to a 50% capacity, and then maybe to a 75% capacity by the time you get to November. That's fingers crossed, maybe a optimistic scenario at this point. But to your question, if you're like financially, LSU is a $145 million annual athletic budget. Football generates about $85 million in revenue. So you can't make up that gap. It's impossible to make that up in its entirety.
You're just trying to mitigate as much as you can.
Exactly. You try to generate as much revenue as you possibly can.
And I'm sure, now, will they upcharge? I would assume if you're only putting 20,000 people in, they're going to find a way to jack up the prices or something.
I don't think that's the case. From what I understand, ticket prices are already set, so they're going to be what they are. But I think you try to generate whatever revenue you can to close that gap. And if over remember, you only get 5 home games instead of 7. So if over 5 home games, maybe that equates to a total of $10-12 million in net revenue. Well, okay, it's certainly not what you would have garnered from a 7 home game schedule that would have included Texas and Alabama, but you'd rather have that $10 million than not have that $10 million.
Will they lose money? Like this year, will they lose money overall or no?
As an athletic department as a whole?
Well, we'll start with football, because I know TV. I see someone in here blasting me on the chat and here saying, well, it's TV money. I'm talking just specifically about ticket sales at this point, but overall, will LSU be a losing, and I'm sure it would be the same for Florida and Georgia and all the other SU, Texas, every other school that's going to try to play. Do all these schools anticipate losing money?
So to the person on the chat, to clarify that's a big misconception. College football TV contracts are significant, but they're also split up by conferences 15 ways. Like in the SEC, you got 14 member institutions and the league office gets a share. So
what does LSU generate from the TV deal?
I'll put it to you this way, and I don't have the number right in front of me, but the league as a whole, your member institutions, because you got to keep in mind, Josh, the way the conference revenue share works is all of the TV money goes into the pot. And then all of the SEC basketball tournament revenue goes in the pot. And all the SEC baseball tournament revenue goes in the pot. And then all of the NCAA March Madness shares go into the pot. And then the college football playoff revenue shares go into the pot. And they grow this big giant pot, and then they split it up 15 ways at the end. So it's going to vary year to year, but generally it's around, I think the rev share last year was around 50 million, 50 in total. But to the person in the chat who mentioned that, the NFL is a very different reality. The NFL, their $1 billion TV contracts are enough to float a franchise. But keep in mind, you also have billionaire owners that can make on a balance sheet that can make it look like a net loss to the IRS. And they're okay with that because they can take it as a write-off. It's a very different reality when you're an athletic department and you need all of that revenue literally to fund sports that don't make money. Like LSU gymnastics loses over $2 million a year. Well, football funds that. Football funds the gymnastics program and every other program. So it's not like you can just take a loss and keep churning on because you have this unlimited revenue stream of a billionaire owner who can just foot the bill. You have to have the revenue from somewhere, which is why you're seeing a lot of leagues take out lines of credit to maybe make up for that shortfall this year and pay on those lines of credit, just sort of extending themselves financially.
The other thing, and you've been talking a lot about this saliva test, which can really kind of revolutionize everything, right? Like I saw you had a doctor on or some sort of scientist. I don't know, Doc Brown or somebody was on with you yesterday. I don't know who the hell.
To clarify, the doctor I had on is Dr. Katie O'Neill. She's an infectious disease specialist, and she is the doctor who's heading up the SEC's medical task force.
And you had the high end people on. The after further review only gets the big timers, the high end guest here. So you've got this guest this that's heading up all this stuff in the SEC. And I've seen you tweeting about the saliva test. I've seen a lot of people tweeting about that. And I did see one, I think it was Lance Zerline, who works here in Houston, who said this that I found kind of interesting. Now with this saliva test, you're starting to kind of conveniently see some Big Ten people back off a little bit, and you're starting to see them say, oh, well, we didn't really vote yet. I don't remember an official vote on this or anything. The more this kind of stuff comes out, the more the Big Ten's going to have egg on its face. And I think inevitably the Big Ten's going to have to play football. And if it doesn't, it may kill the Big Ten.
Well, it's not going to kill the Big Ten because you got to remember the Big Ten is made up of very wealthy, very prestigious academic.
Well, but I'm just talking about from a
that-
standpoint of if you want to have high-end football, I'm just talking football specifically. We're already seeing stories allegedly about kids saying, hey, I don't want to play here. I want to play where they care about football. That could all be fake. That could all be an SEC coach being full of shit and saying that the Big Ten players are leaving. But, I mean, you're starting to see it. It doesn't help a league when you've got some of its biggest name players kind of revolting because they're not getting the chance to play.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't help the image of the league as a football league.
Well, if you think it's bad now, if the SEC is in fact playing football in October and the Big Ten is sitting on the sideline, that would crank this up a millionfold. There's actually also a group of Big Ten parents that are going to the NCAA or the Big Ten offices this Friday to basically demand answers. The father of one of the Ohio State defensive backs, very prominent player, tweeted a picture of his plane ticket. He's going up to Chicago to the Big Ten offices to get these answers. I mean, it's an awful PR circumstance for the Big Ten. As far as football, I don't think this is going to kill Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State. If you want a potentially lasting impact, a residual impact, you could certainly look at recruiting. Does not playing this season basically effectively amount to them sort of not skipping a recruiting class, but having a down year in recruiting, and how does that cycle negatively impact these programs?
Well, other leagues can sell it. Other leagues can sell. I mean, that's a selling point. You're looking for any edge you have, and you say, look down here, the worst possible thing that could happen in this country at this point is a pandemic. We're playing football. And by the way, you've got guys who are seniors there, guys who are juniors who are planning to go to the league next year, and they're missing out on an entire year of being in the highest level of college football and being exposed to the NFL or whatever, however you want to put it, and they're not doing that. And now they're getting screwed. So I do think it doesn't hurt the SEC or the Big 12 or the ACC or any other league when you've got a league that's basically saying, screw you to the players. You got players demanding to play. They're adults. They should be able to make their decision. They're saying, no, you're not going to play. And by the way, Matt, and you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago about the money in this, but I saw this Mike Greenberg yesterday on ESPN, and this Mike Greenberg, let me tell you about this dope. He was like, we got to give the Big Ten credit because the Big Ten is saying, you know what, we're not putting money over the players. You mean to tell me you don't believe that the Big Ten didn't look at this and say, boy, we're going to lose a lot of money having no fans in the stands? Yeah, we're just not going to play. We're going to mitigate. Don't act like money had nothing to do with this and this was all out of the goodness of their hearts. Give me a break, this Mike Greenberg. I don't need your garbage and your ball washing of the Big Ten. Everything is about money. Every single decision everybody makes is about money. You know this, Mike Greenberg. The reason why you're forced to do a TV show and a radio show is about money. Everything's about money. So don't tell me the Big Ten is some noble league out there that said, we're putting player safety over money. No, they looked at the bottom line and said, whoa, this is not going to be good for us if we're traveling, if we're having to put players in the stadiums for empty stadiums and make no money off of it. That is bogus. That is all bogus. Matt, there was there was no question in there. That was a statement. That was a statement that is a bogus viewpoint of this, because you and I both, just like you said a couple weeks ago, when they decided to play an only conference schedule in the Big Ten. You can fly. You want to tell me travel was the reason when a team from Nebraska could fly to Maryland, and it's just as far as having to travel over to Oregon to play a game if you're a Big Ten school? It was all about dollars and cents, and that's what all of these decisions are based on, dollars and cents. Or the political race, which some people seem to believe, the presidential race. That's a weird one to me. But whatever. Go ahead. The floor is yours, Matt Moscona.
So I did a video, which is on my YouTube channel. If anyone has 30 minutes and they want to go watch it, please do. I'll send you a link. But I did a very deep dive into how and why each conference has arrived at very different decisions. And the thing to keep in mind, Josh, that I think is often overlooked is that ultimately the people making these decisions are university presidents. And when you think about university presidents, yes, they are members of academia. They are people who put higher education on a pedestal. They're not necessarily athletically motivated. And that is particularly the case in places in the Big Ten, where you have universities like Michigan, which has a $12 billion endowment, and Ohio State, which has a $6 billion endowment, and Northwestern, which has a $10 billion endowment. I mean, even smaller schools like Purdue has a $5 billion endowment, and Michigan State has a $3 billion endowment. I mean, by contrast, Josh, LSU's got a $500 million endowment.
Wow.
I mean, LSU is a relatively poor school in a cash-strapped state where the football program is the doorstep to the university, which drives admissions and a lot of revenue to the city of Baton Rouge and state of Louisiana. The other thing to consider also is look at places around the Big Ten or the Pac-12. Like the city of Los Angeles doesn't need UCLA or USC football for the city to thrive. The city of Seattle doesn't need Washington football for the city to thrive. The greater Phoenix area doesn't need Arizona State football. Athens, Georgia needs Georgia football.
Yes.
Auburn, Alabama needs Auburn football. Tuscaloosa, Gainesville, Baton Rouge. You know, the Bryan College Station Chamber of Commerce did a report that estimated Texas A&M University directly or indirectly accounts for 20% of that city's economy. Like,
I think Baton Rouge is something like $400 million. I think per LSU football is $400 million a year for the Baton Rouge economy, something like that.
No, you're good. The difference is here. The motivations to play for all of these leagues are very different based on their university's reality, based on their geography and how they're dealing with COVID and COVID response. Like in LA and Phoenix, these are gigantic hotspots right now, and they don't need college football. So their motivation to play isn't as great as it is in Baton Rouge or in Tallahassee or in Clemson. They're just facing very different realities.
But what about a Madison, Wisconsin, or Indiana, or those type of places?
But the contrast in the Big Ten is you still have football crazed schools and fan bases that are rabid that want their Big Ten football. So that's why you're having this conflict. But the presidents realize they don't need to play this college football season. And Josh, the biggest thing that people are whispering about, which is the thing that Big Ten parents have retained legal counsel for now, is liability. The NCAA came out and said, you cannot offer a liability waiver to your student athletes. You can't do it. You cannot offer a COVID liability waiver.
Why?
Well, I go to Indianapolis and ask the NCAA Division I counsel that question. I don't know the answer, but they would not allow a waiver. And so now the Big Ten parents are obtaining legal counsel saying, hey, we will sign a waiver. I mean, that's the whole thing why they got Thomas Mars, the attorney, and like he's the guy that represented our good friend Houston Nutt in his defamation suit.
No, that's our great friend Houston Nutt, but continue.
Our great friend is Houston. But my point is, like, the parents are begging, let us sign a waiver. We'll sign a waiver. But the NCAA already came out and said no, and the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have said health and safety of student athletes. There's no way that they're going to retract and put the toothpaste back in the tube and say, well, we're really considering the health and safety of our student athletes. But if you'll sign a liability waiver so we're not responsible, then go ahead. We're not so concerned about the health and safety of student athletes. It's just I don't know how the Big Ten Pac-12 put the toothpaste back in the tube because of the premise upon which they canceled their season. It's
bizarre. The whole damn thing is bizarre. It's weird. And then you're going to have 3 conferences are going to play, and you're going to have these other 2, and it will have an adverse effect on them. There's, at least from a football standpoint, I don't know about financially, but from a football standpoint, it is going to have an impact on these schools, and it's going to benefit a lot of other schools in the southern part of the country, which already benefit anyway. I mean, if people want to go to Georgia, they're going to go to Georgia. I'm not saying that, Ole Miss is going to benefit because Ohio State isn't playing or Vanderbilt's going to benefit, but it is going to help whenever there's a battle between, say, an LSU, a Florida, and Ohio State trying to get a player. If Coach O goes into a living room, or if Dan Mullen goes into a living room and says, dude, they didn't even play last year. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many examples there are of a guy who's limited or narrowed it down to those 3 schools. So I'm just, plucking this from the air. It's kind of a straw man in a way, but I get it. But it doesn't help them. It doesn't help these leagues when you've got because everybody knows these guys aren't going to school to get an education. They're going to school to try to get to the next level, which is the NFL, and you're selling how I'm going to get you there. And if you're the Big Ten and you're saying, well, we're just skipping football, even though everybody wants to play and we're out, and Coach O and Dan Mullen and everybody else down south is playing, that's not a good look for you. And I don't think that helps you. And I think that they know that doesn't help them. So anyway, that is the great Matt Moscona. What do you think about before I let you go, unwritten rules of baseball? How do you feel? Because I think we've had this discussion before. The unwritten rules of baseball. Should people be mad at Fernando Tatis Jr. for swinging at a 3-0 pitch in a 10-3 game?
If you are anyone who props up the sacredness of baseball and their unwritten rules,
so Terrio.
I would like to take this wooden custom Marucci bat that I have in my hand and slap you in the face with it. Like, are there any
unwritten rules that are okay? Like if a guy shows you up after hitting a home run and you pitch him inside, you don't hit him, but you pitch inside a little bit to establish the inside part of the plate. Is that okay?
Did you throw at him intentionally?
Well, you pitched inside. You didn't hit him, but you pitched inside to get him off the plate. That's part of the game.
If you want to use all parts of the plate, okay. But if you hit someone in the back because they hit a 400-foot homer off of you, bat flipped and stared at you all the way around the bases, you know what, loser? Don't throw them a meatball next time, sucker. All these people getting their feelings hurt. Josh, can you imagine if like a defensive back gets burned and the receiver does an end zone celebration, and so on the next series the defensive back is like going after his knee because his feelings are hurt? What a freaking loser. It's sports. You know what, Jack? Don't give up a bomb, you loser, throwing at people. I'll never understand that. Oh, he stared at me running around the bases. He bat flipped. Oh, he went into second base too hard. Suck it up, you stupid ninny. Baseball, like, I love the game of baseball. These morons that are married to the unwritten rules of baseball. To steal a line from our friend Richard Condon, they're bringing in my breast milk, John.
Oh, that's lovely. But so that means you're okay with Fernando Tatis swinging on a 3-0 count up 10-3.
Hit it 500 feet.
I'm with you. I agree with you.
Swing out your shoes, man. You know what I'm okay with, Josh? If you're up 56-3 in the fourth quarter with 2:10 going and you want to sling the ball around, do it. Now, that may not be a good choice because you risk injury just playing the game. But you know what, man? If you want to run up a score, do it. Steve Spurrier used to hang 70 on people unapologetically and say, well, be better on defense.
Yes, right. I love it. Like, what is the batter supposed to do? Just hurt his batting average and be like, I know I'm going to get the best pitch I'm going to see all night here, but we are up by 7 and it's not nice. So I'm just going to take this pitch. Screw off. I'm with you 100%. Glad we agree. Yeah. All right, Matt, be good. We'll see you later.
Bye.
That's Matt Moscona, everybody. Here's a story for you, Jilly. Now, this is one that that I bet a bunch of people here haven't heard about yet because it's I don't know that it's gone national yet. I just saw that our friend Jerry V posted a link to this story on the old Twitter earlier today. The Charlotte Hornets have indefinitely suspended radio play-by-play announcer John Fockey, F-O-C-K-E.
I have thoughts on that, too.
John Fockey, Fockey, after a tweet he sent Monday, which included the N-word. The Charlotte Hornets are aware of the recent social media post by radio broadcaster John Fockey. As an organization, we do not condone this type of language. John has been suspended indefinitely as we investigate the matter more closely. Now, how did the N-word get out on this guy's social media? Well,
this is like your nightmare.
Yes. It should be everyone's nightmare, every human's nightmare. Fockey, who just completed his first season with the Hornets, was tweeting about the Utah Jazz Denver Nuggets game Monday afternoon. The tweet included the N-word instead of nuggets.
Here's my question.
Okay.
Is he trying to say like he typed nuggets and it auto-corrected, or he typed...
Well, let me finish. I think he might say it in here. The tweet was, shot making in this Jazz N-word game is awesome. Can you imagine scrolling through your Twitter timeline? You follow John Fockey, and it's like, hey, shot making in this Jazz N-words game is just awesome. Murray and Mitchell going back and forth. What a game. You know he didn't mean to do it. Now, let's see. This continues. Let's see here. Focky apologized on his Twitter account around 10 p.m. Monday night. And that game was at like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah. It was,
So did he not notice it? That would be even worse. Like just go like Ron Burgundy
No, that
saying,
game
"Go
was
fuck
at-
yourself, San Diego."
that game was at noon.
Yeah, but it ended at like
Yeah.
like 2. So he's probably tweeting that. It's,
Either
you know,
way. Either way.
Earlier today, I made a horrific error while attempting to tweet about the Denver-Utah game. I don't know how I mistyped. I had and have no intention of ever using that word. I take full responsibility for my actions. I have been sick to my stomach about it ever since. I am truly sorry that happened. I apologize to those offended. So here's the thing about that. I've never seen autocorrect unless you've typed it in so many times.
Right.
I don't know that autocorrects nuggets to the N word.
No, when I type nuggets, like it'll do like let's see. On Twitter. Like I get bigger. Nugget. Or even if you accidentally put nugger. N-U-G-G, like,
Yeah.
you missed the T. The R and the T are right next to each other. It doesn't correct to the N word.
I'm not a bigot, but I'm allowed to be
You
one.
get bigger, you get bugger. You don't get the N word.
No. And listen, like the guy clearly did it on accident. Like dude that works for an NBA team, even the Charlotte Hornets, which aren't really an NBA team, but even a guy that works for the Charlotte Hornets is like, this guy's not going to deliberately tweet that.
I don't think he did it deliberately,
No,
but
of course
I'm
he
saying that
obviously didn't do it deliberately, but
perhaps he has used the word before where
and
his
not
phone.
just before, but I think you have to use it pretty frequently for your phone to remember it and autocorrect.
Now,
it.
unless he really did just mistype it because the U and the I are next to each other.
Or now that's a fear I have.
Just typing it really fast.
Like, I have a fear. Let's see, Josh, can I pick a small bone with you? It's by accident, not on accident. Sorry, Joe.
These are the things.
By accident. I don't think you tweeted that by accident. Okay.
I mean,
but we know you. Well, first of all, he did tweet it by accident
Yeah.
because we know. But you're clearly not going to do it on purpose or by purpose,
But
Joe.
see, I'm with you. Initially, I thought the same thing. Like, okay, obviously his phone knows this word, so it auto-corrected to it. But if you go to type out nuggets, I mean, the N is there. Okay. The I and the U are right next to each other.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I fat finger a lot of
So
stuff.
you can fat finger an IU. The GG, that's down there. And then the R and the T are right next to each other.
Like I just typed this out real fast. I tried to type nugget. I ended up NUHGET. The options it gives me are nugget or nuggets. Those are the options it gives me on my phone.
But perhaps he actually typed out the N word and it didn't correct it because it's
But like,
a word.
aren't you gonna look at it before? Like, it's one thing if you somehow screw that up on a text and you just like if you're a professional at anything in media broadcast, you're gonna look at that tweet 100 times, and I still screw up and like I'll have a misspelling or I'll have a your instead of your.
You notice it before 10 hours have passed.
And maybe he did notice it before then, and someone told him, and they had to come up with the apology or whatever
Maybe.
10 hours later.
I don't know. That's an unfortunate situation, though.
And I'm not saying the guy is a horrible human being and should be fired or anything like that, but
Also, and here's the thing, too. When your name is Focky,
Focky.
you've probably had some issues typing out your name, maybe. So, I mean, this is something you should be extra careful for. I mean, I'm sure many people have accidentally typed, fucker.
Yes, I'm not saying I don't know that this guy's a bad person.
No, I
and
think-
maybe one time he like he used the word in a tweet in a text to someone. I don't know.
Yeah, phones
maybe
remember-
now maybe he was just now again. If we're giving him the benefit of the doubt, he could have typed it out because I mean, as adults, everybody should like censoring yourself on your own text is kind of stupid, right? Like if someone sent you a text and said, "Hey, what does NWA stand for?"
I still wouldn't type it.
I wouldn't either, but some people are stupid. I make sure to not do that. I don't want any of that in my history where someone like screenshots my messages and it says, "Hey, he said the N-word in a text." Okay, I'm not about
I
that
also
life.
think he could have fat fingered it because, like I said, those letters all line up very easily.
I just find that hard to
How?
believe.
Look.
I know. I just find it hard to believe. I'm not saying it's hard to believe that he could have fat fingered it
Yeah,
because I
very
do it a lot of the
easily.
time. Like I won't look because it becomes a habit where I kind of type out like it's the computer. Like I can look at you and
Nugget
type.
and N-word literally are the
Okay.
same pattern.
Let me try to type a word out while looking at you just based on memory of the keys, okay?
Type nugget.
Okay. Like, let's see what the N is. N-U-G-G-E-T. This is what I ended up with. So it's
That's close.
N-U-G-G-D-T. So
but
it was still pretty close.
The I is right next to the U.
But the point is, you're not going to just then hit send on that
You
text.
send tweets all the time without even rereading them. Like if you're live tweeting a game, you're just go, 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 go. You're not.
But I make sure to read every one of them and make sure. Now, again, I might miss the your versus the your. But if I see the N-word in there, I'm going to say, oh, shit, I better just backspace and retype that. That is a fear that everybody should live with.
I think the Nuggets need to change their name.
You think so?
I think
that's the only logical answer.
I think it's too close.
Anything with an N and two G's in it should
Gotta
not
go.
be a name of any team whatsoever.
Gotta go. Get it out.
Boy,
Boy, that
he would have been
sucks.
better off saying his account was hacked. I agree with that. That's actually, like, at least you could live with that. You know, you can say, okay, I get it. Like it was hacked and somebody
But if
said
he
something.
was he
But
live
to say that you
tweeting?
just mistype something, that I agree. Do it the other way around.
You can't pull off the hacking thing though if you've been live tweeting the whole game.
Yeah, that's true. Somebody jumped into my tweets and hacked me right
Just
now.
Yeah. That's not gonna work. Do you think this guy gets fired over this?
Yes, I do. Because again, he's John Fockey. Who the hell? He's had the
And
job
again,
for a year. It's not like he's some dude. They fired the dude in Indianapolis that had the Colts job forever for saying the N-word around people. So, I think this guy will get fired for that. Dude, real talk. If you're gonna fire the guy in Oklahoma City for saying the guy's out of his cotton picking mind,
Yeah.
then you're gonna have to fire the guy that mistypes the N-word.
Well,
Like, come on.
I hope when he gets fired that someone writes a story and accidentally types fucker.
Yep, and then boom.
Full circle.
All right. Anyway, we're getting out of here, guys. I got to go to work. Make sure you listen to the show on 97.5. Appreciate you guys.